What if sex was never meant to be confusing, just beautifully designed? Welcome to Sex Rebranded, the podcast that cuts through the noise with bold biblical conversations about sex, marriage, and holistic health. You'll hear the candid perspective of a true newlywed, gain practical wisdom from a mom of 3 young kids, and insight from a doctorally prepared nurse and menopause champion herself. Okay, so I have 2 very special guests on the podcast today, my dear and lovely parents. So do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Oh, sure. Should I introduce myself as Caroline's father or Kelly's husband? My name is Barry Watson, and I'm glad to be here.
What do you like to do in your free time, Dad? What are some of your hobbies?
I like to fish is probably my number one hobby. I also like sporting events such as OU football and Yankees baseball, and I like spending time with my family.
Yeah, and you used to be big volleyball dad fan.
Yeah, I used to love me some Summit volleyball when I had two girls playing.
Yep,
We miss those days.
Yeah,
it was
not the
fun.
same without you guys out there.
Okay, so tell everyone how you guys met and just share like a condensed version of your love story. Dad, do you want to, Dad, share your perspective first and then Mom can chime in.
So I met Kelly. I think the first time we actually met was in 8th grade. I was placed by Kelly in a science class because I might have been very talkative, and Kelly just moved back from being on the mission field in Kenya. And the one thing I do remember is I was sitting by her, and she had these like pantyhose on that were like really thick, and so I grabbed them and I let go, and I I don't know, kind of made him flip them, I don't know. And anyway, she slapped me. And that was my first time to be around Kelly. And then later on, 10th grade, I sat by her, not because I was forced to, but because I wanted to get to know her. In second hour history class, American history class. And I didn't think she was quite nerdy then. And then it just we started dating. And yeah, that's how we met. What else do you need to know?
So from 8th grade to 10th grade, you knew of each other, but you weren't really friends and you weren't really interested until you started your sophomore year of high school.
True. And really, to be honest, I mean, I knew of her probably in the 8th and 9th grade, but I had zero interest during that time.
How did you ask her out? Were you friends and then you were like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me?
Well, 10th grade, I was in class with her, and I just, I think I asked her. Our first date was to a movie, and so back then, you wrote hand letters to each other in class, and there wasn't texting or anything like that, but we would man, we didn't have cell phones either, so we would call. We would actually call on a landline at each other and talk to each other.
Do you remember my landline in high school? My home phone.
No, why did you put me on the spot like
918.
that? Yeah. I don't even remember mine. My older sister says it to me sometimes. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me. I know it was 687 something, but anyway. I remember my parents' phone, which was my phone growing all the way, but yeah.
Didn't you guys see like a really inappropriate movie for your first date?
Yes.
It was called Singles. And that was, before the internet, before you could do a movie review, and we just went and saw whatever was playing at the movies. But yeah.
It was horrible. The only scene that I remember is this couple that was not married, and they were having sex on the couch, and they were making the garage door opener go up and down. It was horrid. Horrible movie for a first date.
Well, Mom, what made you say yes to the second date then if the first date
Well,
wasn't the greatest?
backtrack. So this was back in the day when my sister-in-law, Laura Renee, was dating my brother. And I had two boys that asked me out, Dad and this other guy. Well, Laura Renee's maiden name was Watson. So she was like, go with the Watson. He's got to be good. So that's how I initially went on my first date with Dad. But we just have had a sweet relationship starting in high school. We've been really good friends. I think we did a lot together in high school. We ran track together. We did homecoming together, went to prom together. All of the traditional like high school things we did together. We even listened to country music together and went to concerts and listened to George Strait. We're still listening to George Strait and going to concerts.
So before I ask this question, do you have any other things that you want to add from your love story, Mom? From your perspective?
The very beginning,
Or you can start wherever.
I think that it's important to know that really our relationship started out just with a solid friendship. Not that we're not more than friends, but we were such good friends and we really enjoyed being with each other. Even in, what year was that we started?
92.
92. Even back in 1992, and we're still having fun together. So I think that it started, those early days were really grounded in a really sweet friendship. And we just always wanted to be with each other. I can't think of a time that we were like, yeah, no, I'm going to choose to spend some time with someone else. And then fast track, went to nursing school, and Dad left me to go to Europe to study abroad. And I was heartbroken. Nursing school was really challenging for me. That was a really challenging time because I've always struggled to learn. I know I punished myself and got my doctorate, but it's always been difficult for me. And so I felt like that Dad was kind of my cheerleader. And when he left to go to Austria to study, that was a really hard time. So that was, how many months was that?
1997, and it was like August through December.
Yeah. And then what happened when you came back? Or what was your thought process while we were apart? Is it true?
Is it true?
Is it true that your love grows? Absence makes the heart grow fonder? Is that
yeah.
true?
Yeah, so we got back and I remember I was like, yeah, I'm going to ask Kelly to marry me. And so I went and I talked to my parents about it. And then after I got their blessing, I went and asked Kelly's dad and got his blessing. And we were both, well, I was 21 and she was 20 when we got engaged. And
Babies.
we went to eat at El Charro, which is a Mexican restaurant. And then we went to the Garden of Lights in Muskogee at Honor Heights Park. And I got down on one knee and I said, okay, I want to take your picture. There's this pond and there's all these lights around it. So I want to take your picture here. So I got on a D. I said, let me get down here. And then I had a stocking with a ring in it. And then so I reached back, I got it, and I reached in the stocking, I pulled out the ring. And then I asked her, and she just stood there and looked at me and crying. I was like, oh no, this isn't what I had in mind. This isn't what I imagined. And then she finally said yes. And were you surprised when I asked you? Or?
I was very surprised. I thought routine Mexican food, drive through the park, which we had done several times because we lived there. Not that it wasn't special. It ended up being special. It's still special when we go back all these years later. But no, I was very surprised.
So that was the December that you got back from studying abroad? That you
Yes,
proposed?
December of '97.
I would be surprised too. Because you didn't see each other for so long, and then it's like, do you want to marry me?
And we didn't have cell phones, so very little communication. Dad wrote me a few letters. I have them. I still have them in an envelope. Um,
Well, no, there was we had cell phones back then, but there wasn't like text like there is today.
no, and was it like a bag phone?
No, it was a
I
razor.
don't
You don't
even
remember
know.
the razors?
I was very surprised and very happy, and it was a beautiful pear diamond solitaire, like perfection. And then, true story, he flushed it down the toilet later on.
And that taught you that material things don't really matter. And what did I tell you, Mom? I don't know how old I was, but what did I tell you?
This is true. This is true. Caroline was little bitty, and I'll never forget where we were standing by the fridge, and I just had like crocodile tears coming down my face, and I was so sad to lose that ring. I still have my wedding ring, by the way. So, and Caroline said, "Mommy, it's not a person," and so I straightened up. I straightened up real fast.
Wisdom from the 4-year-old.
Exactly. It's not a person.
So I don't know what the number is, but a very small percentage of high school relationships end in marriage and like actually work out in the long run. So what advice would you give to someone that might be either graduated from high school and still dating the person that they were dating in high school, or is currently in high school and dating someone? What advice would you give them just to help them kind of discern if they should be marrying that person? Because I feel like a lot of people could be like, "Oh, well, it's your only relationship. Maybe you should date someone else and like just make sure, you know?" So what advice would you give to someone to know if they should keep dating that person or if they should end the relationship?
Well, with us, I mean, I really didn't want to date anybody else. So, at that point in time, I would say just follow your heart, and it's very important to make the right choice on who you marry. And I don't know if I lucked out or if I had God's discernment or what, but it worked out for us, and well, it worked out for me anyway. I don't know about if it worked out for her or
Yeah, that
not.
worked out. Well, I would say just to add to that, don't count it out. Don't just initially say that because you're dating someone in high school that it's not going to work out. So I think that that discernment and that wisdom, although discernment and wisdom when you're 18, 19 is tricky, because of lack of maturity. The Holy Spirit can still give you guidance and an assurance that you should still date that person. So don't count it out, I would say.
Yeah.
That it might be possible just because it's statistically not common. Look at us.
Yeah, I think it might be hard if you get married young, but if you both are believers and you both have that foundation with Christ at the center and both are on the same page about what marriage means and that it is a covenant and it is for life, then, and if you take it seriously and you know how serious of a commitment it is, then I think like your chances of success are great. So that's good
Have
advice.
a pretty strong legacy. Both of us do. Our parents stayed married and were godly and faithful to one another. And so I think that makes a difference too, because that's what we had to look up to and the legacy that we had, don't you think? That we had that example, so it made it easier too. It was the choice to make, right? There wasn't an option, no plan B.
So, what is some other advice for a different group of people, but for people with young kids? What's something that you wish that you would have known? And it could be advice about anything. It could be marriage related. It could be parenting related. So what's some advice that you would tell couples with young kids that you wish you would have known whenever you were in that season of life?
I'll start. So I would say enjoy every minute of it because it goes by super fast. It goes by really fast. I remember bringing you guys home from the hospital and graduating high school. It went by like that. I mean, just super fast. And I just say enjoy it. Do as much as you can with your kids. Pour as much as you can into your kids. That's what I would say.
And I would say too that to be patient and that it's a season. Enjoy the season. Definitely enjoy the season because it's fleeting, but also that the foundation that you're building together takes time, and it takes with your dad, I've got a resume, right, by now, after all these years. So he's built that trusting foundation, the godly foundation of our marriage, and the strength and the security that he's built, not only for me, but he's a major girl dad. So all these years, he's really been rock and foundation and spent so much time with you girls. And so I would say that be patient in your marriage and in the way your family's being built, because that takes time. It takes time to build that foundation of trust. And then over time, you get stronger in your relationship and you trust the person even more. Because my relationship with Dad, when we started dating and even when we are newlyweds, is much different. I mean, for one, because I'm a lot more mature. Because I was not very mature. And so I didn't, I think that my walk with the Lord grew and I got more, spiritually mature. And so that helps. But also you're building something together. And that foundation is wonderful if you're both believers. So that's a really good start, I feel like. But now, as Dad and I have grown to trust each other through experiences, though. So I would say for a mom that has little ones or a newlywed, just my advice is to just know that you're building something together, and it's going to take time. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be wonderful, and it just takes some time to train him.
Dad is such a girl dad. I can't imagine you with boys, probably because I'm literally your daughter, but I feel like a lot of people say that too. It just makes sense that Barry has girls.
I've enjoyed every second of it with both you and Lily. And I kind of wanted a boy just to do boy things with, but God knew better, and it's been such a fun 22 years.
And so fast forward to where you guys are at now. What is y'all's favorite thing about marriage in your current season of life?
So my favorite thing right now is just spending time with Kelly. Well, she's probably bent more than me as far as I'm a big sports fan, and she's become a bigger sports fan. Watching every game we can on TV for the Yankees we watch. She's been going to OU football games with me for. And those are just things that I like doing, and I think she does it more because she likes being with me, not because she likes those things. But I think she's kind of started to fall in love with the Yankees and the Sooners. But but those are some of the things that we really like doing right now. We like watching. We watch shows together. We just Of course, we do dinner and lunch together. We spend a lot of time right now together, and yeah.
I'll echo that. That's my favorite thing about this season. And my love language is quality time too. So the fact that we're able to spend more quality time together is a big deal for me.
Would you say that now in this current season, you've gotten to spend the most time together out of all your seasons? Because when you guys first got married, Mom, you were working as a nurse. Like, you did 12-hour shifts, or what? Like, you had a really intense work schedule.
Yeah, I worked 4 12-hour shifts at night. So basically, and Dad worked a lot of hours. So we basically just like ate, slept, and I mean, we crossed paths a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would, the 3 days you were off, we would spend
That's
more
true.
time. But the 4 days that she worked, we hardly ever saw each other. Her lunch was actually, I think, like at midnight, and I would come up to the hospital and eat lunch with her. And yeah, those were good times though. But they were different times, and that period of time, it seems more rushed than it is right now. It kind of seems like it's slowed down a little bit as far as the time together. Time doesn't seem like it's slowed down. I mean, but just the time that we've had together.
Mm-hmm. I know that was a really long time ago, but can you think of any advice for people that are maybe in that same season where one of them's working and then the other has like a super funky work schedule, like working nights at a hospital?
I think it's just a season, just like we talked about with little ones, and you just have to do the best you can do. And just like Dad would come, on my lunch break, just made it work. He was just considerate and just tried to be with me when he could. I don't think there's anything that you can do. It's obviously better to sync your work schedules if you can, but some couples can't do that. So I think it's just a season, and you just have to make it work.
Were you able to, like, did either of you work on Sunday? Like, were you able to have at least one day reserved that was
So
somewhat
my
normal?
shift work, it depended. So my 4 shifts would rotate. So some Sundays I would have off, and some weekends I wouldn't.
But we would go to church every Sunday, and when she worked that Saturday night before into the Sunday morning, she just got less sleep that day.
Mm-hmm.
Shift work's tough, and restorative sleep or lack of, and shift work can really, be difficult on relationships. So very challenging, but you got to have nurses that deliver babies at night. So, what do you do?
Yeah. The baby doesn't know what time it is.
No, we have a lot of babies that were
Time to be born. So, what are you guys looking forward to most in this next year? And it could be as a couple or personally, whatever.
Dad's the fun person, so we'll let him go first.
This year, I'm looking forward to going on a couple trips. One of the trips that we're going to go to very soon is we're going to Costa Rica, and our whole family's going. And so I'm looking forward to going. We're going to do some deep sea fishing, do some fun stuff. I look forward to getting to know. We have a new son-in-law that's 7 months of being my son-in-law. So hey, I finally got a boy.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do some boy things. So we're getting ready, and so I'm excited about that. We're kind of looking at maybe going to a Yankees game this year. Maybe I like history, and I like Revolutionary War history. So I've been to Philadelphia before, but when I went to Philadelphia before, it was because of work, so I didn't get to do a bunch of touristy stuff. So we're thinking about making a trip to watch the Yankees play the Phillies, and then doing some historical tours in Philadelphia and in the surrounding area. And then, of course, I'm planning. Now, these are things I'm planning. They aren't set in stone, but I want to go up to Michigan when OU plays Michigan this year and go to the Big House. And it's also near a lake that's pretty good that I've been to once before, St. Clair, which is in Detroit. And I want to go catch some smallmouth and then go to OU game. What and be with my wife. What more of a perfect week can you get than those three things? The only thing that'd be better is if OU was playing Detroit that same week, but they aren't. And so those are some trips and some things I'm looking forward to. As you can tell, they're all spending time with either family or Kelly, surrounded by things I like doing. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Mom, what are you excited about? 26.
I am excited about Rebranded coming out, and I'm excited about all of the things that Dad talked about. Just spending time with Dad and the family.
Well, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask one last question, and then if there's anything else that you guys wanted to talk about, we can. Has being vulnerable with each other always been easy for you guys? And how and when did you decide that was a necessity in your marriage?
Vulnerable.
Define?
No, I said vulnerable. Yeah, that's I don't like being vulnerable. This question is making me vulnerable.
I think I may have inherited that from you, Dad.
I think so too, but it has been necessary, especially in times where we needed to work together. So I know that there was times when we needed to, like when we lost our fathers, is a really good example of times where we really needed to know what the other person was feeling. And we really needed to go deeper in knowing how we felt about things and really being open about that, because if we weren't, then we couldn't help one another, right? And if we didn't know how we were feeling and how that was affecting us personally, then if I didn't know, like when Papa died, how Dad was feeling, then there's no way that I could feel like I was a part of it. And I wanted to join him. Especially because I had experienced it. So when I lost Pops, I knew what that was like, and so I wanted to, walk with him through that transition and that process. And I think it was Randy Willingham, who is one of our dear friends and mentors, that told us, like, transitions matter. And so you can't just, take something like losing our fathers and just like push it away from your mind and just forget about it. It's a huge transition and something that we needed to walk together through and be very transparent with one another. So I think vulnerability allows you to deepen your relationship and to create something that is not superficial, but it's something that means a lot. Dad and I have a lot of fun together, but also I think our relationship has deepened when we've been willing to go there, to talk about things that are hard to talk about.
Yeah. And on that note, grief isn't a linear process. It'd be so nice if it was just like, okay, you're going to spend like a month and a half in this stage, and then you're going to move on to the next, and you're never going to go back to the first stage. That is just not how grief works. And so because of that, I think that's why it's really important to know what your spouse is feeling, because I mean, like you said, you're not going to know how to help them if you don't know kind of where they're at and what they're feeling. And I think that's really good advice. And just some advice I would insert myself to give to newlyweds. It doesn't, if you struggle with being vulnerable, it does not get easier like the longer you wait to do it. Like that's something that I'm very grateful to my now husband, because I was like you, Dad, and I did not like being vulnerable and like opening up and talking about feelings. It's just not my favorite. And like I would avoid it. You know, like conflict, like how you deal with conflict, like you either avoid it or you like want to deal with it right away. I was like feeling avoidant and like vulnerable avoidant. But I remember a conversation that we had, Caden and I, like super early on dating, and he basically told me like, hey, like I don't think you realize it, but you're hurting me by not opening up about things and not sharing your feelings with me. And that's when I really realized like I suck at this, and I'm also a perfectionist. And so when I acknowledge that like I'm not good at something, then it's hard for me to try to do it. And so being vulnerable was one of those things. And like talking about feelings, I just never thought I was good at it. And so I was like, I just don't want to try. But then whenever Caden told me like, no, like you're actually hurting me by not talking, then that's when it kind of clicked in my brain and was like, I need to work on this, because it's not just about me. Like it's about the other person in the relationship. And now putting it into practice, I'm so much better because of it. And I started off, I solely was working on it for him, but now I've realized how much it has helped me. And so I would just encourage any really no matter where you're at in your marriage, but especially if you're newlyweds, like really make sure that you are open and honest and vulnerable about every part of yourself, even the not so great parts, because it, I assume, wouldn't get easier if you struggle to just like keep struggling. Because it does take practice. And there are so many times where I would tell him like, I don't want to talk about this. I really don't. It's like the opposite of what I want to do right now. But I'm going to, because I love you and I'm working on it and I'm practicing. And then we'd have a conversation, and then it would be like, it'd be so much better after. And there are many times that I failed and that I should have talked and I didn't. And that's okay, because that is a part of the process and a part of growing, and the failures will happen. But
Better with time. But you mentioned that grief's not linear. I remember it had been a year since Pops died, and like the date came up and on the calendar, and Dad's shaking his head because he remembers. I freaked out. I just came apart for some reason at a year. And so Dad had to like shift gears and was like, I thought she was getting better, and then like all of a sudden she's in a puddle, right? And so that's a great way to describe grief. So just husbands and wives realizing and recognizing that it's not in a certain timing that you grieve and go through the process of grieving, and that you've got to be flexible. Like dad was like, I need to switch gears here and, really minister to her, because even though it's a year later, that's when I was experiencing the pain and all of the things that come with grief.
do you guys have any more thoughts or anything else that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you a question for?
Advice to young married people you can think of?
It's been so long ago as Caroline said, I like how she said, that was a long time ago. This is a nice way of saying, you guys are old.
So babies are great. Children are wonderful. They're a gift of God. So have lots of babies. And Dad and I say all the time, like, we're so grateful for children. So, and we like each other. So here's the deal. We really like being with each other and spending time together and enjoy one another's company. Children are such a blessing and they bring so much joy. So I'd say, if you can have babies, have lots of babies.
Is that your ploy to have grandchildren?
Oh no, I'm not talking to Caroline.
Man, so one of the things is that I would also recommend is there's been, I mean, it hasn't always been roses and gumdrops or whatever. Kelly's afforded me a lot of mercy and grace. And there's been times when we would get in like this crazy cycle where we would argue about things and, and we came up with a thing where we just said, hey, we just need to start over. And you remember that time period? Mm-hmm. Where we just need to start over. And so we just kind of said, let's start over. And so whatever it was we were arguing about, we stopped arguing about it. We forgave each other and we started over because that
only comes with the forgiveness piece that Dad speaks of.
Yeah.
People can't do that. You can't have a start fresh and a reboot if you don't have the gospel and that's not, if you don't have a heart of gospel and mercy and these type of things, that you can't forgive one another and do a little.
There's been like 2 times in our marriages where I've used that because it was like we're just arguing about, I don't even remember what it was, but we were just arguing about something.
It was really important because we can't even remember what it was.
but I felt one way and she felt the other, and it was just like, let's just drop this, let's start all over, let's
kind of reset the scoreboard. We're keeping score, and so it's back at 0-0.
Yeah, and let's move off this topic. Let's forgive each other, or what? Because a lot of times when you're in an argument, you say things you don't mean, and that's usually me. I usually do that, and then so just kind of start over, and I like I said, I probably used that 2 times that I can think of, and I wish I even knew what we were arguing about, but anyway, and we'd probably laugh about it now, but anyway, that's some advice I would give as well.
To kind of restart the scoreboard and then start playing on the same team together.
Yeah.
Yes, but don't skip the forgiveness part.
Yeah.
For sure. Because you won't ever be able to start at 0-0.
If you hold a grudge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my favorite scripture verses, and it's actually hanging up in our living room downstairs. I think it's Ephesians 4:2, and it says to make allowances for one another's faults because of Christ's love and his forgiveness towards you. And so I think it really helps whenever you think about how much Christ forgave you, like yourself, and then you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm not deserving of any of Christ's love towards me, but he so graciously gave his life for me and loves me so deeply, like more than I could even imagine. And so then when you think of that and Christ's love for yourself, I think it helps just kind of reorient yourself when you're looking at your spouse and think like, okay, like because Christ loved me and forgave me, I should also love my spouse and forgive my spouse.
You know what Pop said? Forgiven much, love much. So if you've experienced God's mercy and his forgiveness, then perfect example. How can you not do that with your spouse?
Okay, well, this has been a great conversation. Do you guys have any other last minute closing remarks?
I do not.
Okay. Well, it was great having you guys on. We'll probably have you on.
Okay.
Definitely you, Mom.
We love you. Closing remarks. We love you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Sex Rebranded. If you have a question you want answered or a topic you want to be talked about on the podcast, send us an email at sexrebranded@gmail.com.